Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to FifthDimensionRadio.com. It is 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday night, and you know what that means.
Yeah. 10-cent beer night.
10-cent beer night, official sports show at FifthDimensionRadio.com. Every Wednesday, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are filming here on Monday the 24th for Wednesday the 26th, and we are the last week of March, which means...
Baseball is right around the corner.
Right, to be more specific, this is the opening day show for 10-cent beer night. So here you go. So real quick, and we're going to do this really quick because we have a lot of baseball talk, and it will take up the whole show. We are going to briefly mention the basketball.
You sure you want to mention that?
Yeah, we'll mention it. We want to thank our Akron Zips for good season. There's been a lot of upsets in the Big Dance tournament. Unfortunately, the Zips were not one of them. Solid defense throughout the first half and even parts of the second half there. The shots never fell, though. Yeah. And that's where the problem happened. And, the good news, if you want to stay positive about it, he's only losing 2 starters and somebody off the bench that didn't play a lot. The rest are coming back next year. So, he can add to it, hopefully get some good transfers, get some more good recruits.
Arizona was just too big. They were big, And I didn't know that we are one of in the tournament. We are the smallest. We were the smallest team.
Wow.
Yeah. They mentioned that, and in the country we were the 8th smallest team in the country.
It's time to get a little bigger there.
We start getting some big. We need some big guys in the middle.
You got some good wings. You got some good guards on that team. But thank you, John Gross, for another great season of Akron basketball. And we're still waiting for that big tournament win, but we'll have to wait till next year, see what happens.
This is probably the best Akron team that I've ever seen on the court.
On paper, it's the best ever.
In 25 years I've watched, I've been a season ticket holder there, and this is probably their best. We had some good players over the year, but team-wise, overall team, this is pretty good.
Yeah, they were very good, and I think it goes up from here. The good news is, because I've seen coach, like for example, the Xavier coach is leaving for Texas. Okay, so that's come out. So here's the good news is the positive about losing there, instead of going to the Sweet 16 later or something like that, John Gross isn't targeted for an upgraded position right now. So they get to keep him for another year. And not say he don't deserve, because he definitely does, but that's always the fear when you're a mid-major school and you win a couple games there in the big tournament is okay.
You're moving on.
Yeah.
Well, he's done that before.
Right.
With Ohio.
Yeah.
He left Ohio and went to Illinois.
Right.
And then he comes back to the Mid-American Conference. And, I just noticed that the other day that who's a head coach at my Stan Heath. He was a head coach at Kent and left to go to Purdue.
Right.
And now he's back at, I can't remember what team he's coaching right now. Anyway, he's at Western Michigan.
Western Michigan, yeah. Okay. I thought it was one of the Michigan teams, but I wasn't sure. But no, there you go. So got that out of the way. Good tournament, though, other than that so far. A lot of upsets. I know Connecticut lost yesterday, and they were very upset.
Who did they lose to?
Florida. Florida was technically the favorite, but they came back and won. And
I thought Florida was the top higher seed.
They are 1 seed, but it was still, the comeback was impressive there. So there you have it. For the first time this season, and you can take it any way you want, we had a losing Cavs week. And here's the thing, though. The positive is it took them till mid-late March to have their first bad week. That's crazy within itself. No, they ended up having a 4-game losing streak there. They we know the last show we mentioned they lost to the Magic. Well, Tuesday night they lost to the Clippers, and I watched that game. Clippers played out of their mind. There was nothing Cleveland could do. Cleveland did not play bad at all that game. Clippers just could not miss. They played great A basketball, Wednesday night against the Kings, that one is the one they should have won. They lost 119 to 123. Kings are not the team they were at the beginning of the season. A lot of trades, a lot of different things happened. and somehow the Cavs just screwed that one up. Friday night, they lost to the Suns 112 to 123. I will mention real quick that second half they played phenomenal. It's overshadowed by the fact they lost, but the defense and the hustle and the ball movement there, if they play like that every quarter for the rest, like I'm talking about all different Cavs regimes. I mean, if they play that way every quarter, the rest of their careers, the rest of their lives, the rest of Cavaliers basketball, they would be the toughest team in the league. I mean, how well they played that second half. Unfortunately, they lost because they had a bad first half. They fell behind, and Donovan Mitchell only scored 7 points the entire game. And it got to the point, it's like, why Mobley was on fire. You could have just kept feeding him the ball at that point, you know. They did win Sunday night, 120-91 against the Utah Jazz. That ended the losing streak. They played very well there, so they're back to their winning ways. They got 57 wins. Unfortunately, now they're the second best team in NBA. They're still in first in the Eastern Conference by about 5 games. So, and they have, let me see, we're at 71 games.
You got 11 games left.
11 games left. So only a couple weeks. So, I would like to see them. I don't care about the best record in the NBA. I care about the best record in the East right now. Get that number 1 seed, lock it up, and you're done. This week, by the time you hear this, you'll already know they played the Blazers on Tuesday night. I hope they've won because the Blazers gave them a hard time at home, and the Cavs had to beat them in overtime. But they also didn't. They weren't playing Donovan Mitchell that game. They weren't playing. I think somebody else missed that game too. There's a couple key players that missed that game, and they pulled out a win without them. So. They're going to have. They should have everybody.
Is that home?
Tonight. That is away.
Mm.
Now they come back home on Thursday. Okay, and one of the local stations picking it up. They're going to play the Spurs at home, and they should win that game. All Spurs' best players are all on the injured reserve. Greg Popovich is not on the sidelines. He's expected to return next year. They say that he's doing really well. He had a stroke in November. But they say he's ahead of schedule. He's doing well. So they said expect him to be back next year. But they are in a rough position right now. It's like take advantage of that win at home. Just sealed the deal there. Friday, they're at Detroit for their last game against the Pistons in the regular season. There is that chance they meet somewhere in the playoffs. You never know. But right now, this is a chance to sweep Detroit. And then Sunday, at home, 3:30 p.m., time to get revenge. The Clippers come to town. And that's the game. Okay, for the fans' sake, in front of the home fans, just find a way to win. They beat you up last time at their place. Beat them up at your place. So, and yeah, the next game after that is not until the next 10-cent beer night. So we're going to hold off, and then that's our first April games there. So 4 games this week. Hopefully, I could see. I'm going to say 3-1. I would love to see 4-0 because they've been spoiling us this season. But I think anything less than 3-1 is a little disappointing because these are teams they should beat. The Clippers is probably the tough one where I'll say, if they lose, I understand. You know, especially how bad they lost last time there. So okay,
Yep.
we're caught up.
No, we got to congratulate the Louisville Leopards.
Oh, did they win
They won the state title. Louisville Division III won the state title. Beat Columbus Worthington, I think it was, 67-66.
So there you have it. There, Louisville out of everybody, little Louisville there in the Stark County.
Louisville Leopards.
There you go.
Yeah, I also want to say that everybody knows that I'm a big harness racing fan, own some horses and stuff. We did have a gentleman killed on the track last Thursday night.
Oh my gosh!
At the Meadows in Pittsburgh, outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay, so it wasn't your track.
No, it wasn't our track, but Hunter Meyer is his name. He did race at Northfield. Young kid, 27 years old, was killed in a freak accident. It was an accident. He left behind his fiancee Chloe and his 6-month-old son Hayden.
That's
So I want to send condolences out to the family and stuff. We had a nice little get together last Sunday night up at Northfield Memorials up there, and so but it's rough. He's a 27-year-old kid. He's 2,500 wins in his career. I mean, he was an up and coming star, and he's going to be missed up north. He ran most of his races at Northfield and the medals over in Pennsylvania. So I really didn't know him personally, but I have talked to him in the back before and stuff like that. So anyway, condolences to the family and prayers to the family, and
Right.
he's going to be missed.
You don't think of that kind of stuff when it comes to horse racing, but I guess that can happen.
It can happen.
And just died at doing the thing he loved, and that hurts. So no, seriously, nothing but the best for them, especially the fiance and the baby he left behind.
Yeah, they were
That's
planning
rough.
to get married in June too. So
Yeah, so it was coming up. That's heartbreaking there. On a lighter note, before we get into baseball, there was a Ohio reunion this past weekend. The Cleveland Browns signed linebacker Jerome Baker. Baker is from the Cleveland area. He went to Ohio State. It's a good piece, especially with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah's status unknown going into camp. I know we're still a couple months away from camp, but that neck injury he had, they're still not comfortable with him doing activities right now. And so that's concerning, but they're bringing him in. And it's a big deal because it's not just, oh, look, it's the guy from Ohio. There was a special moment. He walked in to sign his, because they do the pictures of the signing the contract and everything. His family, his household family, too. I'm not just talking about his mom and his dad and all that. His household family lives in Ohio, lives in Cleveland. So during the season, he was away from them. So he's got a daughter and he's got two boys. And they showed they were standing around waiting because they had some free time in between the pictures and everything, and he grabbed her picture, gave her a kiss, and said, "I get to take you to school every day now," because he signed. I think he signed a 2-year deal. I'm tempted to say, and he was so excited. So it was cool because it's like he didn't get to do that all year round, but now in the fall, even before practice, he can drop his kids off and then head to practice there. So awesome to bring him in there.
now did we get rid of one of our quarterbacks?
No, we did not get rid of one of our. We did add Chicago's kick returner from last year. I don't know if he'll stick around. The other lace I got real quick because we do want to get into some baseball. Is this morning it came out? They're still talking to the Niners about Brandon Ayuk. I'm on the fence about because when he's healthy, he's one of the best receivers in the game. But he tore his ACL and MCL last year, and he's got a hefty contract. Okay. On top of that, there is more coming out. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. The negotiations supposedly between the Browns and the Nick Chubb are heating up. So that's a good thing. There was a report over the weekend. Another Ohio State kid, J.K. Dobbins, running back. When he's played very well, but he's had some injury problems. Ravens drafted him. His first couple years were there. He was with the Chargers last year. Report has it he's down to 2 teams. Steelers, Browns.
Come on, Browns, let's sign him.
So there's a chance before people jump the gun. There's a chance they're making a 3-headed monster: Jerome Ford, J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubb, and it probably has to do with Ford and Chubb's injuries from last year because Ford's got kind of banged up late last year too. So that would be an interesting move. And if as long as they keep Chubb and they could get get Dobbins, I'm not opposed to it. But that was the report that came out.
We need to keep Chubb, though.
Yeah,
We need to keep Chubb.
The fans are screaming on social media, where is his deal? They're demanding, where is his deal? Let him, and I don't think they were letting him. I think what it was is they agreed because I'll tell you, nobody else has talked to Chubb. Elijah Moore's another one. Nobody else has talked to him. They've been sitting in free. Why has it? I think they told teams they're going back to Cleveland. Cleveland's working on some other things right now, making sure that they have the cap room to offer them the deal.
Well, they're working on something because they signed Garrett.
Right.
I mean, they signed Garrett.
Right.
Garrett was asked for a trade.
And I will mention there too, to add to it, talks are heating up, and the question is how much money they're going to offer him. I guess the Russell Wilson thing is coming to reality for Cleveland.
I like to see it.
So,
I mean, I'm for it.
Because with Jameis Winston went to the Giants over the weekend. With him going to the Giants, Steelers liked him, and now he's off the board. Rodgers talked to them, but
I don't want Rodgers. I mean,
not Cleveland. No, Pittsburgh talked to Rodgers.
Okay. Well, they can have him.
Well, Rodgers doesn't seem to be. He's on the fence. The rumor has it Rodgers is going to pull a Brett Favre, and he's going to sign with the Vikings. And so, because that's what Favre did, was he was traded to the Jets. He was there for 2 years, got released, then he went to the Vikings for a year. So, and
I can see him going to Minnesota.
The latest is he likes Minnesota. He likes what they have. He talked to Pittsburgh, but he kind of walked away like, But so if the Browns, and here's rumor has it Russell Wilson wants a 2-year deal, at least $20 million, if not 30. I mean per year, and I don't know if he's worth that anymore. The Browns might be able to cough off 1 year, $10 million and be okay. But I don't mind it, but they're saying they could ruin the Steelers right now if Rodgers goes to Minnesota and Russell goes to Cleveland. Pittsburgh's only signed Mason Rudolph. He came back. That's all they've done.
And they got rid of what's his name, Pickett.
Oh, they got rid of him last year.
Yeah, but
he's in Cleveland now. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know,
Fields went to the Jets. So yeah, I mean, they would be in a sticky situation. So
they're going to go draft a quarterback.
Yeah, we'll see. They might trade up. I know Cleveland won't make a move with them. So, but that's the latest on the Browns. There, we do have less than a minute, so we're going to wait till baseball to the next segment. But then we could do 2 straight segments baseball. While we have under that minute, Tokyo series went really well. I watched both games. Dodgers swept the Cubs in those 2 games, played very well. And that place got loud when Ohtani homered for the first time of the year. So, yeah, for those that don't know, those were the 2 official games of Major League Baseball this year. So, both the Cubs and the Dodgers are 2 games ahead of everybody else. But so I'll be curious what they do next year. Last year was Korea. This year was Tokyo.
I heard Mexico City.
Mexico could be fun, you know. I wouldn't be surprised, and they did this with the Indians when they were the Indians a few years ago. They did Puerto Rico, but it wasn't to start the season. It was in the middle of the season.
Season.
Yeah, but I would think it'd be cool to do that again.
Yeah, I heard they're talking with Mexico City for next year.
That'd be cool, and that way it wouldn't be 6 in the morning either.
No.
Because it was 5 in the morning in Korea and 6 in the morning this year in Japan. Oh my gosh. Hey, we gotta take a break. When we come back, our whole baseball preview for the 2025 season. Me and Bob do early predictions of who's going to win awards, who's going to win divisions, who is going to win the World Series, that and more. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our second segment and our first segment of Opening Day Edition.
Play ball!
This is one of my all-time favorite ones to do. This one, the NFL preview, the NFL draft one.
What about the NBA draft?
Well, the Cavs really don't have a pick. I mean, it's fun. It's cool. Don't get me wrong.
At least we got a pick this year in the Browns.
We got a bunch of picks for the Browns there, but we'll talk about that. They'll have that in a couple weeks. This is baseball time now, Bob. We've waited a while for this one.
The only thing I'm mad about baseball is it used to be the first week of June was the amateur draft. Now they do it during the All-Star break. Right. In July. Baseball.
That one doesn't bother me as much as others.
No, it don't bother me at all. It just gives the scouts out there more of a chance to look at the kid before they decide who they're going to do. Of course, less rounds now.
There you go. What we're going to do right now, we're going to go by divisions, and I'm going to break down real quick the additions for each team, and then we're going to predict the order of that division for this season. So that's how we're going to play this. So we're going to start with the National League East. We're going to go a little bit east here. The Atlanta Braves key additions: Jerkinson Profar, outfielder, who's expected to be their leadoff guy. He was with the Padres last year. He was an all-star there. Side notes: Ronald Acuna Jr. out till May, and Spencer Strider, their starting pitcher, who they thought would be the automatic Cy Young winner last year, and he had like 1 or 2 starts, and he needed Tommy John surgery. He's expected to be back in late April, so they said he's doing well. So that's good there, but that's for the Braves right there. As far as new guys and news, Miami Marlins, not much in the way of new news. They traded away a bunch of guys over the offseason. The only new guy is Cal Quantrill, former Cleveland Guardian, has joined the rotation, and they're expected to get Sandy Alcantara back, who was Cy Young Award winner a few years ago. He got hurt last year. He was out for the rest of the season. I mean, early. I think he had 1 start, and then he was done there. Edward Cabrera and Ryan Weathers, starting pitchers, are expected to start the season on the DL. For the New York Mets, well, you heard the big news when it happened several months ago. The biggest free agent, Juan Soto, flipped on the Yankees, and he went to the Mets. And what was the biggest deal in sports history, not just baseball, sports history, about $800 million over 11 years or something. They did re-sign Pete Alonso. There was some concern that they weren't going to be able to, but they pulled it through there. Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez are expected to start the season on the DL. McNeil is their second baseman. Alvarez is their catcher. So we'll see what happens there as far as the injuries goes and how long they're going to be out and how the reserves play there. They also did add Clay Holmes as one of their starting pitchers. He was a relief pitcher for the Yankees the past couple years, but he's going to be a starter for the Mets there. And then you have the Washington Nationals here. Nathan Lowe, first baseman, who was with the Rangers. He is now with the Nationals. They did add Josh Bell there for designated hitter. I think they had him before. And he's back in the lineup there now. A young lineup there, but we'll get to specifics here in a minute. Nothing new in the rotation. Mostly their own prospects there. So we'll see what happens. And then you had the Philadelphia Phillies there. Not much as far as the lineup, as far as additions go, but for the rotation, they did add Jesus Luzardo, who was a lefty for the Miami Marlins, played very well. Had some injuries last year, but when he's healthy, pitches he's very consistent. And Miami bent over and traded him to a division rival there. So there's basically your offseason preview for the National League East. Bob, who is going to win the National League East in your opinion?
It's going to be between Philadelphia and Atlanta.
You think so? Break it down for me.
I think it's going to be Philadelphia. Personally, because they're the number 3 team power rating in baseball. They got a decent pitching staff. I think it's going to be Philadelphia. Atlanta's fighting it out for that division. Atlanta, of course, always got a good team.
Right.
So,
right.
I'll go with Philadelphia. I'll take Atlanta for second, the Mets third, the Nationals fourth, and the Florida Marlins last.
There you go. So I'm going to change up on you a little bit. New York Mets made a big impression on me last year. Their manager, and I can't think of his name on top of my head, but he did a fantastic job late in the season last year. Francisco Lindor took on the leadership role and looked like the guy that they're paying the big money to right now. They were the best second half team in the league. If it wasn't for the Dodgers, they probably would have made the World Series. And there's a case to be made they could have beat the Yankees as well. I am going with the Mets here as first. I understand, the pitching is solid. It might not be as appealing as the Braves and the Phillies as far as starting pitchers go. Because you look at the Mets. Okay, Clay Holmes, I mentioned him. David Peterson had a good year last year. They're waiting on this Kodai Senga, a guy they got from Japan. He's like 31 years old. He pitched a bit last year, got hurt, was out for the season, came back in the playoffs, did well for somebody that missed all that time. And so and I know Tyler Midgill and David Peterson had their moment in the sun last year with this team winning some key games. But look, that Juan Soto, that bat within itself is going to be a big threat to the division. They don't know what's going on with Starling Marte and Jose Siri, how well they'll play frequently. But you had Jesse Winker that had a good year last year. Mark Vientos has got some power. And then you got Pete Alonso, who he's going to hit you 220, but he'll hit you 40 home runs.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things.
Most power hitters, that's what they are. They strike. It's either hit or miss.
Right. But at the end of the day, like this lineup, this team is very focused. They work very well together, and they were a couple pieces away again from getting over that hump. The question is was Juan Soto enough, and Clay Holmes even, because those were their two. Those were their two additions there. Sorry, I had an update on the Browns there that caught my attention, but nothing for the Browns. A player left. We'll get to that in a sec. As far as second, I am going to go with Philly. And here's the reason. It's partially what you said. That rotation's very good. Wheeler, Luzardo, Nola, Christopher Sanchez, who was an All-Star last year, and Ranger Suarez, that was an All-Star last year. This is probably the best rotation right now in the National League East, and one of the best in the National League. The lineup, this is where I get a little weird. Trey Turner and Harper and Bohm, the top three there, they will be consistently good. You got Kyle Schwarber there, a lot of power. He won't hit you again. It's like he'll hit you 240, but he'll also hit you 40 home runs. You know, the rest is older. Nick Castellanos, he's getting up there. Max Kepler's been around for a minute. J.Chu Romuto, if you remember him, he used to be the hottest catcher in the league for a time. And last year he had a good season, but he's not putting up the numbers he used to be.
Right.
And I think half that lineup there is very solid. The other half, it's going to be kind of hit or miss. They're going to have their days. But here's the reason why I pick them second, and I'm going to pick the Braves third, is because the Braves got a lot of question marks, okay, to break it down here. I like the Profar signing. Austin Riley's one of the better third basemen in the game. He for 3 straight years had over 30 home runs. Last year he had injuries. He dipped in progression. Can he bounce back to what he was? Then you had Matt Olson last year. After having a career year in 2023, he hits about 241. He hits you 30-some home runs. He got you 90-some RBIs. But is this going to be the Matt Olson, the decline, or is that just a bad year?
It's just a bad year for him.
You think so?
Yeah.
Marcell Ozuna, older guy, but he's similar to I'm trying to think of that designate here that was around forever and played for everybody. I can't think of it right now. Right-handed power bat, but that's who he reminds. He used to play for the Rays, and he used to play.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Right, I can't. He played till he was like 41, 42. But Osuna reminds me of him. Ozzy Albies, I like him. He's one of the better second basemen in the game, but he's been inconsistent. But he's been like good year, good year, okay. Not bad year. Last year was an okay year, so is this a good year? Because if it's a good year, this is a guy that can get you 20-some home runs, 280 average, steal a bunch of bases for you. This is where the rest gets interesting. Because, okay, you're waiting on Ronald Acuna Jr. to come back. Michael Hall Harris, the Jr., who has been a solid prospect, but he's been injured. He's been inconsistent. Is he going to show up? Jared Kelenic, okay, that was a guy that was supposed to be a huge star for Seattle. It did not pan out. He gets traded to Atlanta last year. Is he going to pan out? Okay, so there's just some questions. The starting pitching is great with Chris Sale, Ronaldo, Lopez, Spencer Skollenbach, Grant Holmes, and Ian Anderson. And then you have Spencer Strider coming up. But can the rest hold still and perform to their best of their ability, I should say? And I could see these first 3 teams making the playoffs. In all seriousness, I can see these top three making the playoffs. The team I have that I think will have a solid year and won't make it is the Nationals. I think they're going to surprise people. I'm talking about maybe 80, 82 wins, 84 wins, something along those lines. A lot of good young talent. C.J. Abrams, Dylan Cruz, the second overall pick a couple years ago, shot up through the minor leagues, and he's going to be in the lineup, in the opening day lineup there. James Wood, left fielder, power hitter, showed it last year. He was part of the Soto trade, the one where Nationals sent Soto to the Padres. And they're saying the Nationals walked out with 5 great prospects, and they're all expected to be on the Major League team this year, some point this year. So there's a lot of good young guys there. Mackenzie Gore, lefty starter pitcher, probably going to be their ace this year. Gave up a little bit more runs last year, but a lot of strikeouts. He can strike people out. He throws hard. And then you have the Marlins, which is just, it's been an eyesore, and it's continuing to be an eyesore. And, I mean, there's some good process. Griffin Conine, Jeff Conine's son, Xavier Edwards, the shortstop. And there's a couple key good starting pitchers, but it's like they need so much more. I mean, you want to talk about the team that's going to battle the White Sox for the worst team in the league. That's
talk. I know. Let's, for a minute, the White Sox.
Yeah.
Do you know that they have the number 2 rated farm system in all of baseball right now?
Well, but in a year or two they could turn around.
That's because you're gonna be seeing a lot of these kids being called up this year.
Right.
So.
Right. So, awesome there. We're gonna go move on to the NL Central right now. Real quick additions for each team. For the Brewers, they called up a bunch more prospects more this year.
And they got also another farm system that's loaded.
Right. Rice Hawkins, the first baseman, he used to be with the Phillies. I forget when they could have added him last year, but that's just a name I noticed that's different on the lineup there. Eric Haas for designated hitter there, but like most of these guys were back from last year. They did add Jose. Jose Quintana. I think he was added in the offseason. I'm not 100% sure. I do know Brandon Woodruff is going to come back sometime later this year, but they have even without him, they have a pretty solid start rotation there. For the Cardinals, as far as new additions go, I know they lost Paul Goldschmidt. They might be moving Wilson Contreras to first base there. I didn't know that. But they didn't really add somebody in the lineup there. They didn't add somebody in the rotation either. They pretty much stood pat at what they had. For the Cubs, as far as additions, they called up prospect Matt Shaw. He'll be their new starting third baseman there. They did trade for Kyle Tucker with the Houston Astros. That was a big one. And then you had John Birdie was recently added over the offseason with Justin Turner. As far as the rotation goes, they did add Matthew Boyd, who was with the Guardians last year. With the Pittsburgh Pirates, any new additions?
Not really. Not
really, no. I do see Tommy Pham. I don't remember him being there last year. But a lot of young guys. Andrew McCutcheon's still with them. He's their designated hitter there. As far as the rotation goes, nobody new. I forget if they had Andrew Heaney last year. I don't remember his name being there. For the Reds, a couple new guys. Of course, manager.
We got a new manager.
Yeah, Tito Francona there. Matt McClain will come back after missing all of last year. Gavin Lux will probably be their third baseman. They're saying he was added from the trade with the Dodgers there. And in the rotation, nobody new. Well, Brady Singer, excuse me. They did a trade. They traded Jonathan India to the Royals for Brady Singer.
He was having a hell of a spring.
Absolutely. All right, Bob. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to go with Milwaukee to win it. The Cubs second. My Reds third. I wish we had India still there, but that's the way it goes. I go with St. Louis fourth and Pittsburgh fifth.
St. Louis fourth and then Pittsburgh fifth there. So this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go with your Reds first. I said it.
You go first.
First, I'm going first.
I don't think they got the pitching staff.
There's a lot to like about this Reds team. T.J. Friedel, Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz, Austin Hayes.
Well,
I'm looking at this lineup. This is a loaded team with great bats
a
here.
lot of talent, a lot of bat, a lot of speed. Pitching wins games. And I'm sorry, we don't have the pitching staff. I mean, we got a decent pitching staff, but not a great pitching staff.
I think under Francona, they're going to turn that around.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Brady Singer, Nick Lodeau, Alexis Diaz is one of the better closers in the game. I'm going with the Reds. I think there's going to be an environment turnaround there.
Well, I think there's going to be a little bit of a smooth environment swing because of Terry's there. They finally got a good manager. Still got to have pitching, and I think we're going to struggle with pitching. We did last year. We had a good run for a while, but starting pitching never came out. That's the same way we're going to have in Cleveland. I'm worried about starting pitching.
Real quick, because we only got so much time, I want to end this division here for this segment. Brewers second. I like what they have, especially the starting pitching there. We mentioned that with Freddie Peralta, Aaron Savali, Jose Quintana. Nestor Cortez, I'm on the fence about. He gave up a lot of runs with the Yankees last year. For third, give me the Cubs. I don't think they make the playoffs, though. There is a good amount of talent there, but I think they fall short. My gut says they fall short. There's the lineup's okay. The pitching's, I would say, a B plus, but I think that they're missing some more there. Give me the Cardinals fourth. I think they'll just edge out the Pirates there. Pirates, there's some good things. Like I will say, Paul Skeens, I am a big fan. I think he could be the National League Cy Young winner, even with the lack of run support. But I think the Pirates should have done more in the offseason. I get it that they got some prospects they want to give some attention to right now, but yeah, I'll do Cardinals fourth, Pirates fifth. But I'm telling you, between the Reds and the Brewers, that's for the division. I am going Reds there. Yeah. When we come back, we'll continue this talk, and we got a lot more things to talk about baseball. So stay tuned. And welcome to our last segment of 10 Cent Beer Night, our opening day edition.
Play ball!
We're just talking about now the National League West. And real quick, key additions in the National League West. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, they did trade for first baseman Josh Naylor over the offseason. They did also add Corbin Burns, former ace of the Milwaukee Brewers and Baltimore Orioles. And he gives them a loaded starting rotation there. For the LA Dodgers, they did add Michael Conforto to the lineup, outfielder there. They also added rookie sensation Rocky Sasaki from Japan.
Japanese player.
There you go. Yeah, they did re-sign a bunch of guys too to long-term deals. But as far as additions, Blake Snell too. How could I forget that one? That was a good one. Blake Snell, the lefty pitch, multiple Cy Young winner there. Actually, he's won in the AL and the NL. So he's in that rotation there. And then, of course, Ohtani's expected to join the rotation later in the year there. For the San Francisco Giants, they did add the top infielder of free agency in Willie Adams, the shortstop there. They did also add Justin Verlander, the 40-some-year-old starting pitcher for the rotation there. Yeah. For the Padres, nobody necessarily new on the lineup. Jason Hayward's the only one to take note of. The rest of them were there last year. They did add also Nick Pivetta, who used to be with the Boston Red Sox for the starting rotation there. And guys like Yu Jarvis and Matt Waldron are expected to start on the DL there. For the Rockies, there hadn't been much until this past weekend. They trade projected starting outfielder Nolan Jones back to Cleveland for Tyler Freeman, and a surprise trade right there.
We'll talk about that one later.
Okay, he wants to wait to talk about that one when we get to the AL Central there. For the rotation, nobody necessarily knew. Maybe some call-ups there. All right, Bob, who's going to win the National League West?
Probably the best team in baseball, the Dodgers. I mean, let's face it, they're loaded.
They're loaded.
I got Arizona second, San Diego third, San Francisco fourth, and Colorado fifth.
I agree 100% with that lineup to the T. That's what I have, too. Dodgers are going to roll. I love what the Diamondbacks have.
There's no team in that division going to Dodgers will win that division.
As long as they stay healthy, especially they had some pitching problems.
Well, healthy.
But look, they won the World Series having bullpen games. So, I mean, and their bullpen got struck, because I forgot to add, because I don't, in my listing here, I don't always have the bullpen guys. So they did add Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates, too, to that bullpen. So, I mean, it's...
And the sad thing about it is, under Baseball America got Cleveland the number one bullpen, and the Dodgers number two, and that came out yesterday.
Right.
So I mean, goes to show you that, I mean, they're loaded.
Yeah, but to just add a little more detail here, Diamondbacks got a great lineup, and they got a great rotation going in, and I think, this was a team that went to the World Series a couple of years ago. That wasn't a fluke. They got a lot of talent. It was just that last year they were overmatched, and they had injury problems too. Padres are a good team on paper. They got a lot to like there. I think they will play very well there. Giants are going to go downhill, spending money and not doing enough to win games. And then Rockies are nice. That's a bottom three team. White Sox, Marlins, Rockies. There's your bottom three right there. It's just bad. It's just bad. So we covered the whole National League now. Time to go to the American League East here. We'll start with additions here. For the Blue Jays, the only addition was second baseman Andres Gimenez, who was traded from Cleveland to Toronto. That's their only lineup addition there. They did get Max Scherzer, former multi-Cy Young winner. He is about 41, 42 years old.
His career's about over.
He's still working on the amount he can pitch. Like, they got him to 60 pitches in spring right now, but they're trying to get him to more. His time with the Rangers just did not pan out there. For the Baltimore Orioles, their big addition. No, actually, they lost him. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I screwed up. The Blue Jays did add somebody else. Anthony Santander, who hit 40 home runs for the Orioles last year. I forgot he was that. I knew there was another addition there somewhere. So the Orioles lost him. They didn't really add anybody. They did add Tyler O'Neill, who was with the Red Sox. But for the most part, it's their prospects coming up.
They got a good prospect crop.
They got a good team there. They did also lose Corbin Burns, as I previously mentioned. They did add Charlie Morton, who was with the Braves last year, former Astro too. But that's all they really did. For the Rays, not really much at all as far, it's just a bunch of prospects getting called up there. They are expected to get some pitchers back from injury, so that's good. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. For the Red Sox, they did add Alex Bregman. That was a big addition there to the lineup. They did for the rotation, they added Garrett Crotchet in a trade with the White Sox. So it's like Chris Sale all over again. The hard-throwing lefty goes from the White Sox to the Red Sox. They did add Walker Buehler free agency, who closed out the World Series and won it for the Dodgers there. Buehler, he got hurt a couple years ago, had multiple surgeries. Came back partially last year. He still was not the same. He wasn't consistent. The Dodgers weren't willing to meet his price, so he goes to the Red Sox there. For the Yankees, weird offseason. They lose Soto. They kind of push away other vets that they've had for years, like Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, Rizzo.
Rizzo there. So this year they added Cody Bellinger. They made a trade for him with the Cubs. Paul Goldschmidt at first base, who was with the Cardinals the past couple of years. That's really it. I mean, it's believe it or not, Yankees called up a bunch of prospects and are moving them up. They did add Max Fried in free agency, who was with Atlanta all those years.
I think loss of Garrett Cole is going to hurt them.
Yeah, that's a key point right there. He injured himself in spring training, and he's out for the season. Bob, what are we thinking here for the?
Well, of course, I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think Baltimore is the class of the East. It's a toss-up between. I'm going to take Boston for second, and the Yankees for third, and then I'll go with Toronto, then Tampa Bay. In that order, it's going to be a toss-up between the Yankees and Boston for that second place spot, though.
Right. I'm going to agree with you with Baltimore being first. They are just a better team. There's a lot up and down that roster, that lineup that's going to do some good. There are some question marks. Will Jackson Holiday be able to produce and develop into the player they think he's going to be? Is Cedric Mullins going to turn things around? He's really been on a downhill spiral the past couple of years. The rest of the guys, Gunnar Henderson's one of the better shortstops in the game. Adley Rutschman is one of the better catchers in the game. Jordan Westberg was impressive last year. Rydo Hurd had a power bat. You add Tyler O'Neill. I mean, there's a lot to like there. And then for the rotation, you still got Zach Eflin that will win you games. Grayson Rodriguez, he's kind of hurt, but if he plays, he'll play well. But they got a lot of good starting pitchers, young starting pitchers that I think will pan out there. I will go with actually the Yankees second, and here's why. I think they still got a lot to like. Anthony Volpe at shortstop, Jazz Chisholm at second. They got him at the trade deadline last year. I think and then I overall do like the rotation. Carlos Rondon, Max Fried, Marcus Stroman. Carlos Carrasco apparently snuck in there with the injury of Cole. But I think they got enough, and I like their bullpen too. I think they have enough to win. They also added, I forgot to mention this. His name's not listed in front of me. The guy Devin Williams, who was with the Brewers. Yeah. That was a heck of an addition there from the Yankees. I'm going to have them edge out the Red Sox here. But I think the Red Sox will have a good year. Jarren Duran, Rafael Devers, Tristan Casas, Trevor Story at the end of his career now, but they have a decent rotation in Crotchet, Hawk, and Bueller, Fitz, and Pristel there. But I think at the end of the day, the hitting's going to be good, but it's going to be a little inconsistent. I think it's going to go into some cold streak because there's some guys that are still. They got a lot of prospects on their lineup too, and they're going to need some time to develop. And I like the start rotation, but I'm not 100% sure where the bullpen's at with this Red Sox team there. I am going to go Rays fourth, and I think it's mainly because there's parts of the lineup I think as the year goes on is going to get better there. But I also think their rotation is coming back to form into what the Rays like. Because you got to remember that their manager was Tito Francona. Was mentored by Tito Francona. So he likes his pitching. He's got a good Ryan Pepiot, who used to be with the Dodgers. Taj Bradley, Drew Rasmussen is back. Shane Baz, they're really high on him. But now this guy got an injury the other day, but Shane McLaughlin is supposed to be back. He was a Cy Young candidate a couple years ago. He got hurt last year. He had Tommy John surgery, and he's supposed to be back. But he pulled something in his start the other day in spring training. But if he can come back into perfect health, that would be great there. And then I'll say last is going to be the Blue Jays. I think that there's a lot of drama with the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. situation. Parts of their lineup are good, but Bo Bichette took a dive last year. They did Ann Santander, but again, this is a guy that's just pure power, not average. George Springer has not worked out since he's been there. And the rotation is kind of seeing the end. Like, there's one young pitcher, but Jose Barrios we've maybe seen the best of. Kevin Gausman we've maybe seen the best out of. Chris Bassett, the former Akron Zip, we may have seen the best out of. I'm not sure. I'm not sure with Toronto there. We're going to move on to the AL Central here.
I want to go to the West first.
He wants to go to the West first.
Let's go to the West.
All right, we're going to go.
We'll leave the Central for last.
Okay. For the West, for the Angels, a bunch of prospects and Mike Trout. Jorge Soler's there, too, for the record. Tim Anderson, but whatever. This team.
Yeah.
They did add Yossi Kikuchi, Okay, who was with the Blue Jays. This team, if I had to make, I told you my bottom three. If I had to make a bottom four, the Angels are going on.
Angel will be there.
Spoiler alert: I don't have them winning the division. For the Astros, they did add Isaac Paredes from a trade with the Cubs, that Justin Tucker trade there. The rest has been there with them since last year. The rest, their whole rotation's pretty much been there from last year. Their rotation was solid last year. The Sacramento A's, yes, I said it. Not much on the lineup part. They did add Miguel Andujar, who used to be a Yankees prospect. And they did add Gio Urshela, who was with the Yankees, was with the Indians, was with everybody else. And then for the rotation, they did give Luis Severino probably a little bit too much money, but he's there. They did add Jeffrey Springs, too. So there, if I had a bottom five...
this is probably the worst division in baseball.
The Mariners, real quick, nobody really knew in the from last year in the rotation. For the rotation, from the lineup, for the rotation, nobody really knew it, but they didn't really need to do anything new. The Rangers, they did add Jock Peterson. They added Jake Berger. There's some power all over the place for that.
I mean, personally, the winner of this division could be just 500.
Right. They did add Tyler Mao, former Cincinnati Red there. Okay, Bob, who's going to win the West?
I'm going with Texas first, Houston second. I'm going for the Las Vegas Athletics.
Sacramento.
Well, no, they're Las Vegas. They're going to be in Las Vegas in 2 years.
Right.
So Las Vegas, then the Los Angeles Angels, and then Seattle. I think Seattle's worse than LA.
I have to disagree there. So this is what I'm going to agree with. I'm going to agree with you with the Rangers. They won the World Series a few years ago. They're going to bounce back. Okay, they got a lot of talent on this team to not bounce back, and I think we're going to see it. A great hitting lineup, solid rotation, decent bullpen. They got enough, I think, to win the division. I'll agree with you on that one. I will agree with you on Houston also because they also had a Christian Walker. Houston did. I didn't realize that. I did realize it, but I forgot. They got a solid lineup, and they got an underrated rotation. I think this is the most underrated rotation in baseball. They will win you a lot of games. They'll give you a good amount of strikeouts. They just don't get enough love. I'm going to go Mariners third. I think there's a lot of too much talent in the Mariners. I think some solid pitching.
I don't think that.
I'm going to go I will go A's fourth. And I do think A's will be better than what they've been the past couple of years. And then Angels last just because it's just so bad. It's just, okay. Ready, set, go. AL set, what?
Go.
AL Central. Go. AL Central. Guardians additions. Carlos Santana comes back after being away from the team for the past few years. They did add Luis Ortiz from a trade with the Pirates. The rest has been back from last year. For the Royals, Jonathan India was added from the Reds. They had him last year too. Never mind on that one. That was pretty much it as far as actually.
And with India going to, and he's having a hell of a spring, going to Kansas City, he just made that roster a lot better than what it was.
He did. Tigers, their lineup there, nothing new. A lot of good prospects. They did almost get Alex Bregman. I will bring that up. For rotation, they bring back Jack Flaherty after trading him to the Dodgers and trade deadline. He did come back. The Twins, as far as the new guys go, Ty France. That's the only guy for the lineup. For the pitching, that's about it. For the White Sox, it's just a bunch of prospects. And same thing with the starting rotation. Okay. All right. I'm assuming White Sox are last.
No, they're going to win that division. They got the best farm team in the baseball. No, I'm just kidding with you. No, they're probably they're going to be between them and the Marlins. I think they're the two worst teams in baseball. But you never know.
What's the order though? What do you got? We got only a couple minutes.
What I got? Yeah. Well, I'm going outside the box, and I'm taking Detroit to win the division.
Okay.
I'm taking Detroit to win the division. I'm taking Kansas City for second, Cleveland third, Minnesota fourth, and then the White Sox. I would like to have Cleveland higher, but I am not set on their starting pitching.
Right.
You cannot use the bullpen like they did last year. They did great, but eventually that bullpen just wore out. We've seen that in the playoffs.
Right.
We've seen it in the playoffs. If the starter pitcher's got to go 5, 6, 7 innings, we can't go 2 or 3 and then have the bullpen come in. It can't be done.
Right.
And I see that happening again this year, and I don't know.
All right. I'm going Detroit first. I agree with you on that. They're on the come up. There's a lot of guys that are about to explode and become some of the better new generation of stars in Major League Baseball, and they're in Detroit. They're Colt Keith, Riley Green, just to name a couple on the team there. And I like their rotation too as well.
Flaherty coming back has even made it stronger.
I am going Cleveland second only because I like the environment. I think some of the hitting's going to show up. You still got Jose Ramirez there. I think it's Stephen Kwan. It's going to be and I think Lane Thomas will step up too. It's going to be a weird. I got him with 86 wins. I think.
I can see 3 teams coming out of the division.
Right. And I think the rotation it's concerning too. But Bieber's not going to come back for a while. Bybee is going to be the ace there. There's a lot of question. I agree with you on that. But the bullpen will be okay. I got Royals. They could be an 84-win team somewhere along there. I like what Kansas City's doing, especially with a lot of the pitching they have. Bobby Witt Jr. is one of the better shortstops in the game, too. But I think they need more to this lineup in order to surpass Cleveland, and they didn't do that this offseason. I think Twins will go fourth, and they're going to fire Baldini at the end of the year, and they're just going to move on from it. And White Sox, we know the story, okay? So real quick, Bob, we broke it down. What's your World Series matchup prediction right now? And
I'm looking at the Dodgers and Baltimore.
Dodgers in Baltimore.
And that's what I'm looking for.
I won't rule that one out. That was one of my original. That was the one I picked last year. I'm going if everybody is healthy. I think Rangers are going to edge Baltimore out, and I think you're going to see Dodgers and Rangers. I mean, that Rangers lineup is disgusting.
But you're definitely going to see the Dodgers out of the National League.
Yeah, as long as everybody stays healthy.
Healthy. You got to stay healthy. I mean,
right.
Like a healthy
and
team.
Dodgers did face some obstacles health-wise. I mean, but here's the bottom line: is Dodgers have their starting 5 right now, which include the young 5th starter Dustin May. All right, he will be ousted out of there when Clayton Kershaw gets healthy, and they're going to be a 6-man rotation when Ohtani's ready to start pitching. So, I mean,
I see Vogt made his starting lineup for the season.
Yep.
And then I see that Tristan McKenzie was sent to the bullpen.
Okay.
He was sent to the bullpen. I can't remember who, because he named the bullpen. Clase, Gladden, Tim Harris, Kate Smith, Paul Sewell.
That's their new one, yeah.
Jacob Gunnis.
Gaddis, yep.
And Trisha McKenzie. Still decide if Andrew Waters or Joey Cantillo.
Yeah.
One of those two will be the last of the bullpen.
Yeah, and the rotation then would be Bybee, Williams, Ortiz, Lively, and Allen.
Allen, that's his rotation. He named it yesterday. I said yesterday.
We're out of time, Bob, but baseball is officially here. So next week when we come back, we're going to be talking about.
So when the Guardians open is it Wednesday against Kansas City? They're playing in Kansas City. They open in Kansas City.
I can't. I got to look this up there. Yeah. So. When it's Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah. I knew it was this week. They're in Kansas City.
Thursday starts off everything. They're in Kansas City there. Bybee versus Reagan's there. So that should be a good
And I hope that they decide what they're going to do at the TV.
Yeah. Anyway, so, because we got to wrap it up here. We'll talk about the first weekend of baseball. We'll talk about the Cavs, where they're at. We'll talk about who's in the Final Four.
They're in Cleveland.
Yeah.
You said where they're at.
Where they're at, yeah. Where they're at in the standings. We'll talk about the big dance, who's in the Final Four and whatnot at that time. We'll have a lot to talk about next week. But baseball is back. We got the best sport back, so we're looking very forward to it. And with all that being said, go Guards, go Cavs. So there you go. You guys have a good one. We'll be back next week.